What's going on, guys? Jared with another epic video. Today, guys, I figured we would discuss the Call by the Grave topic. I keep seeing this a lot uh, in some groups that I'm in, and also some online videos and chat stuff and all that places. People talking about, hey, this card, Call by the Grave should be banned. Call by the Grave should be back at 3, or hey, it should be at 2, like it is on Master Duel. So I thought today we would have a discussion. I haven't seen not too many people do a discussion video on Call by the Grave, so I figured I'd try and move everyone uh, just to this video. So if you guys anyone seen it on the topic, definitely consider sharing this video with them. I'm just trying to go through like all of the different levels of this argument and see if we can kind of come to a at least mutual understanding or some sort of agreement, or at least understand the other side's perspective. So that's what this video is going to be focused on today. I'll try and keep it under 10 minutes best I can. I definitely want to give a shout out to my community. I definitely appreciate you guys' love and support, guys. You guys have been killing it with the likes and the shares and watching and watching my videos. I definitely appreciate you guys' support. We've also seen a huge flux of new subscribers, so make sure you guys are subscribed if you're not, so you can be part of the 1,000 subscriber video giveaway once we get there. We should hit 1,000 subs, guys, by the end of the month if we stay on this trend. Hopefully this video will take off like the others. Alright, so start off, if you guys are not familiar with the card, so Called by the Grave, basically, it lets you target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of the monster with the same original name. So this is used to counter a lot of things, mostly hand traps in the game and DPEs, stuff like that. Anything that's going to trigger in the graveyard, or maybe your opponent has a monster card on the field uh, that has like a negate or something like that that's being troublesome, but they have the other copy in the graveyard and you want to remove it from play and basically stop it to counter it for any maybe be new or returning players. So you guys have some sort of context to the conversation. So I figured we'd start with the converse and the argument. People want the card banned. Uh, so basically where they're coming from this standpoint, I've looked at a lot of people post in groups and stuff like that. Basically, why people would say they want the card banned is because they feel like uh, it allows basically meta players, people that are playing like Sprite, for example, uh, Flunderies, a lot of these hardcore meta tier elements, decks like that, right? That allows them to essentially get an extra negate or an extra a leg up on players, like basically such as I would probably say, kind of categorize myself in the area as far as like mid-range player that are playing, whether it's a fun deck or a rogue deck, right? I usually play mostly rogue. Most decks that would be considered rogue, so that's mostly what I play as rogue. So you guys have some sort of background from where my mindset's coming from. And to me, I completely disagree with that argument. Like with the rogue decks that I build, I take specifically stuff like that in mind, and I focus more on the deck building. To me, this goes back to maybe you need to work on your deck building, your deck building skills and stuff like that. If that's a discussion or topic you guys would like to have, or another good one too is why I don't play hand traps. So like me as a combo player, right? I don't play hand traps. If you guys look, I have no hand traps in the main deck in this one of the main decks that I use here on the channel, which is why I thought I'd bring it up for this discussion too. I do have a few, like Nib and Valor in the side, uh, but that's it, right? So if they're playing against me, they're not, they're going to be waiting to save this for hand traps, so they don't see any, so they're going to end up wasting on something else. So that's another thing to me. So let me know what you guys thought on the argument why it should be banned. I completely disagree why the card should be banned. The argument for this from people, really technically, I guess, that are kind of like in, I guess you could say, community that play rogue or fun to play decks. That, to me, that's just a bad argument, and to me, we need to work on your deck building skills. And if that's something you guys need help with, definitely consider joining the channel. My channel is focused on helping you and returning players. So hopefully that gives you guys their standpoint and my viewpoint of why, I don't think the card should be banned, but I feel like that's a bad argument. It helps the meta, it's gonna hurt the meta players by banning this card. To me, like if you think you're gonna start winning games because you're banning Call by the Grave, that's just not gonna happen. I'm sorry. All right, and the argument why it should be at 3. So a lot of people think it should be at 3 because of the opposite argument, right? Because there's so many hand traps in the game, DPE, tier elements, the Shizu cards that are coming out, Splight, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it, right? That people kind of think, hey, it should be at 3 because everyone's playing these hand traps, we need to stop them. And a lot of this usually seems to come from more of the opposite. Right before we talked about more of the rogue and the fun players, this seems to mostly come from, not saying everyone, what I've noticed is more of the meta community of why it should be at 3 or maybe even 2, right? Maybe 2 or 3. You kind of could throw that in there as well. To me, that has more value, right? Because I could see, so like for example, let's go to Master Duel. If you've played Master Duel before, right? Called by the Grave is two. Has been at two since the entire format of Master Duel, which to me that makes sense. Playing it, I haven't, and everyone's argument with the reason why it's two in Master Duel is Maxi. It's an extra counter for Maxi. Uh, to me, I disagree. I disagree with that as well. To me, that just makes no sense. Like you're fine with it being it two. Like if we get access to Maxi, right? Well, that's just an extra card they have to stop to stop it. So like to me, the argument itself that that's counterproductive as to why it's uh, it should be added or whatever. At the same time, so I'm like, I would be fine. Me personally, I would be fine with the card being at two. Three, I just don't see anyone playing three in the deck. Like if they're playing three, Called by the Graves, I'm happy because for someone like me that's playing rogue decks and stuff like that to count specifically to counter the meta, to me that's a dead card to them. See this being at two, I could see, the argument of not putting it at three because, right, they could just Call by the Grave everything you're trying to do for the deck if your deck or something like that. So I feel like Master Duel has it right at two because to me it's like over excessive playing three anyway, unless in your deck's like maybe Striker that you can afford to put the cards in or something to that effect like Striker. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I don't want to ramble too much on here, but hopefully you guys were able to kind of see. Just to recap my thoughts, I really think I agree with the I think it should be at two. It would help counter for you guys that want something to counter more of the hand traps. I disagree with the argument that it's going to give the meta players an advantage. I duel all the time, guys, against these here on Omega against all of these, tier 1 and tier 0 decks with a deck that everyone thinks is trash that you see right in front of you, and I have no issues playing with them. I have several videos, live streams of me playing against the decks, with me playing this deck with no hand traps, with no issues. I mean, any other deck that I play with no hand traps. So like I said, I feel like it's more of a deck building conversation. You're not putting enough board breaker cards and stuff like that. Like the deck you're building itself is not focused. Maybe you're playing too many hand traps yourself. So let me know if that's something you guys would like me to do a video on, just not playing hand traps. But that'll do it for this one, guys. I appreciate your love and support. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll look forward to responding to your guys' comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.